So inshallah we'll go and start. We do record these classes so and put on the YouTube, so if you miss any class, you can watch but don't miss any class. I've been teaching this type of classes for like last 15 years or so, all free by the way. And a lot of people, alhamdulillah, have benefited. A lot of people watch the videos. There are about 500 videos of my classes on the YouTube. I'll send the address of those too. The purpose of this class here, we're starting for those from the beginning, is that when you have been reading Quran for a long time, we all have been reading, how much do we understand the Quran by just reading? Not much. So the purpose is to introduce and build up something, so while we are listening in the Salat or in Taraweeh or reading, we can comprehend some meanings of the Quran. And believe in me, it's a life-changing. If you can understand the Quran in Arabic, the whole life changes. Okay. The concept of Quran changes, concept of Deen changes, if you can understand directly. The other thing is that the rules of recitation go with the meanings also. It is not random, and we will go through some of the basic things, and if you can comprehend those basic things, you will know that you have been reading the Quran, why you have been reading the way you have been reading it, okay? And why the meanings change of the same word. Okay, the number one. Number two, Quranic as well as Arabic language, 99% of the words start with 3 letters. Just 3 letters. And then we build bigger words out of those, but the fundamental basic 3 letters. And we'll go through some exercises of those. Also, some fundamental and basic things I want to introduce. You all know that, but you will see why we need those concepts to really understand the Quran. For example, there are some fundamental symbols, you can call them. These 4 symbols, we all know of them, okay? There are names of these in every language, but we will use the Arabic names for them, okay? In Arabic, this symbol is called Fataha. Fataha. So I will be using this symbol and call it Fataha, not Zabar or any other thing, okay? The one which is this one is called Kasra. Okay. And this symbol is called Dhamma. Okay. What is the need to invent these symbols? This symbol, the first one, Fataha, carries the sound of the first letter Alif. This symbol, Kasra, carries the sound of the letter Ya. And this one carries the sound of Waw. Okay? In English, this is like A, this is E, and this is O. Why did we need to invent these things? For example, if you have 2 letters and you write next to each other, you cannot pronounce. You may pronounce wrong, you may not pronounce at all. So these symbols help us to pronounce. If I put this on that, and the last symbol, this is called Jazm. And if I put, then you can pronounce, the sound of this will come out as a Fatah and combine with sound Ab. Okay? If I change this to fataha, then it will be aba. This is just some basic things, but these are important concepts that we will be building a lot of things on. Okay, these sounds are very important. So, and these four things are called harakat. Harakat means motion or movement, and how we move our tongue, we need the help of these four characters. Okay. After that, we have three more things that we need, and this is that if I put two fathas like that, two kasras like that, and two dhamma like that, they are not called harakat. Okay? They are called a'rab. And what's the purpose of these? And we will see why they were invented and what's the purpose of those. The sound of these two, they are also called tanween. The sound of this is noon sound with the fatha in front of us. The sound of this is also the sound of noon, but with a kasra before that, not under that, before that. The sound of this is also noon, but is a dhamma before that. Okay? So for example, if you have the word kita, and if I put these two, this will become sound of kita ban, two fatha sound, which means ban means this is ba and noon. So this is actually what this is, kita ban. Okay, if I use this one, this will become kita bin, and this is actually the sound of ba with a kasra, bin. Okay, and last one is kita bun, which is sound of ba with a noon. Why in Arabic the same book can be a kitaban, kitabin, kitabun? You will hear in the Quran Allahu, Allahi, Allaha, qalamun, qalamin, qalaman. Three different sounds of the same word. In English, pen is a pen is a pen. But in Arabic, when pen is used, it will have three different sounds. Actually, one more sound, I will come to that. But these three different sounds, kitabun, kitaban, kitabin. Why do we have three different ways to pronounce the same word? Okay. In Quran, you will see Rabbal Alameen, Rabbil Alameen, Rabbul Alameen. Okay. Why? What's the difference in the meaning or why it is there? We'll learn all those things, and once you know, you will realize the beauty of the Quranic language actually. So that's this concept, which doesn't exist in any other language. It may be, but most of the languages, this concept of defining the same word in three different ways. It is not the sound, but it has a very deep meaning in it. And I'll give you a couple examples and then we'll move on. Okay? So this is one thing. Now, as I said to you, that 99% of the words start with three letters. These are three letters, kaf, ta, and ba. When you write in this order, first kaf and then ta and then a ba, it has a meaning behind it. These are three letters. Three letters. Letters themselves don't have any meanings. They are sounds only. But when we combine these and make the words out of those, then the meaning comes out. Okay? So the meaning of these three words, when we make the word, will be to write. Okay? Kataba means to write. An object which is made by adding an alif, kitabun, is something which is written. Okay? Why then it is kitabun and kitaban and kitabin? Okay? That's important, and we'll see that. Okay? Before I go into one more details, just keep in mind that this concept is called Tanween or Ilmul Arab, the knowledge of the Arab. This is called knowledge of the Harakat. Harakat help us to speak, make the words correctly. And Arab define all the grammar. Okay? And we will see that when the word Allahu comes in the Quran and when Allah comes, what's the difference in there? It's a big difference in there. Okay? So we'll learn all those things. So these are some of the basic things. Okay? One other thing that you will come across almost in every ayat or every second ayat is the concept of the two letters Al. Okay? So going back, I'm going to use the same example. Kaf has a kasra. This is a kasra. I'm going to repeat a few times so we get used to that. Ta with the alif has a fataha. Okay? So this is giving the sound of ki, the sound of this. This is giving the sound of a, kita. And then whenever we make a word, we make a noun out of three letters, always the last letter will end up with two dhammas. Tanween, dhammas only, two dhammas. Okay? Word two has a word for that. For example, Walidun is father, Walida is mother. But when you combine, you speak Walidain. Dain means two. Walidain, two. So if I say Dhamma and then say Dhammatain, two Dhammas. Okay, so the word for this is also Dhammatain. The word of this is Fathatain, two of those. And word of this is Kasratain. So this is just a vocabulary. Now, going back to that, always when you make a noun, last letter will have two dhammas. Okay? If you have writing a pen, it will be qala mun. Qalamun is the correct word. Kitabun is the correct and full word. Okay? Always the sound of noon at the end with two dhammas written at the end. Kitabun. Okay? Now what's the meaning of this word? The meaning is a book. A book. Any book. Kitabun means any book. Qalamun means a pen. And in English, they are called indefinite or common nouns. Okay? A book, any book, there is no definite book, could be any book. Now, we are going to add one more thing in there, which is the word alif and lam, which is pronounced as al. In Arabic, in non-Arabic, when you put this alif, which is a vertical line, and you put this fataha, that's called alif with a fataha. In Arabic, fataha alone doesn't come this little sign there. So imagine this is just like an alif. Two of those things. Okay, this is called hamza. In writing, there is no fataha alone, it comes with that. So just for now, and we'll learn more and more. So this is the sound of al. Al. Okay, the meaning of this word is da. Okay, meaning of this word is da. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to combine this word with this word. Okay, so how it will be? I will just write down al and kitabun. Al kitabun. I just combined this lam at the end of this one, and pronunciation became al kitabun. Now look at the meaning. Al means the, and kitabun means a book. This is wrong English. Okay, a book cannot be common noun and a proper noun. Any object, either it is the book or it is a book. Okay, so what we do, we cross out this a from there in English. Okay, what we do in Arabic to cross out this a is that we change these two to one. So now the word is al-kitabu. If you spoke al-kitabun, you are speaking wrong Arabic. The word is al-kitabu. If it is a one book or any book, its name is kitabun. But as soon as it is a particular book, a definite book, it is not kitabun anymore. It is al-kitabu. Okay, so you notice that two dhammas change into one. Arab change into harakat. Because Arab was two, harakat was one. Very important thing. Okay, because a lot of Quranic language is built on this concept. Okay, so remember two things. Whenever you make the word first time, it has to end up with two dhammas at the end. Okay, but as soon as you put al, one of them goes away. Al kitabu. Okay, now to experiment this a little bit further, going into the Quranic language, let's pick another word. Okay, I'm going to take these three letters, alif, lam, and ha. These three letters. Okay, they are written separate. Okay, I'm going to combine them in certain order. Alif, I'm going to put this kasra under there. Okay, so its sound will be E. Alif, the sound of E is E. On lam, I'm going to put an alif, and in a short form alif, this is the short alif. And then last letter, hu, I'm going to put two dhammas. Always last letter will have two dhammas. Sound is ilahun. The meaning of ilahun is that anything you worship is ilahun. Okay? So this is a God. Anything you devote yourself to, you worship, you want is ilahun. If you are worshipping your desire, then your desire is your God. If you are devoted to something, that thing is your God with a small g. And it is always a God, because the to the must last letter, always last letter to the must bring the meaning of a God. Okay? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put al before that. Okay? And keep this word ilahun. Okay. So it became al ilahun. Just writing, okay? So what's the meaning of al? Al means the. God. Okay, that's the formation. Da, we put da in there, and the word already had the meaning a God. Okay? Again, da and a cannot be together. Okay, so what we do? We cross out a, because we want to make it definite now. What we do in Arabic, just we did in the book, these two dhammas will become one dhamma. So last letter now became who. Last letter sound became who, not hun anymore, to the mas. Okay. Now whenever al comes and the next letter has an alif in there, for easy pronunciation we don't pronounce that letter. So if I don't pronounce this letter, what is left? If this alif is not pronounced, Allah, Allahu. Okay. So how do we write it? We write this way. Allahu. Okay. The God is God. Okay. It is not anymore a God or any God. The God is Allahu, not Allah. Allahu.
So these are two L, two lam. Allahu has two lam.
One lam is here, one lam is here. Okay, this is a lam, and this is a lam. I wrote down with the shadda. This is just a thing here. This has no symbol on it, the first one. So this is nothing here, just a writing here. So this is alif is combining with lam, and then another lam is with alif. Allah. Allahu. So the word is Allahu. Correct word is Allahu. Full word is Allahu. Okay? And the meaning is God with capital G. Okay? So what we learn is there, whenever we make from a common or indefinite to a proper noun or definite noun, we put al before that. As soon as we put al, last letters two dhammas change into one. Okay? And that becomes a proper word. In Al-Kitabo we did not do because alif was not there in the kaf was there.
This word, the Quraysh used to use before Islam.
Yes. Oh, this has a very ancient word.
So, but the definition of this Allah has a different meaning.
This existed in the Arabic before the Quran was revealed. So Quran used the same word. Yeah.
But it means something else.
No, Allah's name is Allah's name. Even the mushrikeen and kuffar knew who Allah was. They had issue with the word Rahman. They had issue with the word Rahim. They never had issue with the word Allah. because this existed as a single entity, single one God, always in there.
Okay, the Christian use the same word, Allah, but I'm not sure they mean the same
They may have different definition of that, but
in Arabic Christian.
yeah, yes. Well, as soon as they start distinguishing between the concept of Trinity, then only one God is left, the Creator. Okay? So that becomes Allah. So it doesn't matter which language. Any religion, any language has one, the highest one, the God. Okay? After that, they start combining the smaller gods in their belief system. But they always, every religion has the one, the uppermost, the highest one, the big one, the Creator one, which is same. And after that, almost all the religions except Islam has kept through the book concept of God very different than those who are combined with God. Okay, shirk. Okay, so grammatically, all the words can be created by starting 3 letters. Okay, and then see how many changes we went through. We started with these 3 letters, then we made a noun. Always the noun will have last letter will have dhamma on it, 2 dhammas, and its sound will be the sound of noon, ilahun. Okay, then we brought al in there, and al changed 2 dhammas to 1. Okay, and then if there were, okay, now why we do this thing? One more thing. These 3 letters, alif, ya, and waw, are called weak letters. Okay, these 3 letters are called weak letters in Arabic, or huruf illat. Huruf illat. Illat means to get sick. Alil is a sick person. Why do we call these 3 letters as weak letters or sick letters? Because whenever they come in a word and we have problem pronouncing or writing, we change the sound of these letters. They lose their sound easily. For example, the letter noon will never change its sound. Noon will remain noon, doesn't matter how. But whenever alif, waw, and ya come in the picture, we modify the sound of those. And that is the reason they are called weak letters. They lose their identity a lot. Sometimes we throw them away, just like here we did that. This alif here we threw away. Because why? Easy pronunciation. You can pronounce al-ilahu, nothing wrong with that. Okay? You can pronounce al-ilahu, but this sound doesn't do any purpose. So I said, okay, take the sound out. The word becomes easy to pronounce Allahu. Instead of pronouncing, taking long time, al-ilahu, Allahu. Okay? So what we did, we dropped the sound of alif because it's a weak letter. We cannot drop any other letter. This weak letter we can drop, we can modify, and we'll see the sound will be modified in many, many words. Okay? So this is very important. These are basic concepts. If you can comprehend these, you will actually be reciting the Quran correctly. Okay? Now, then what happens after this? If the word is Allahu, somewhere in the Quran it is Allahi, what happened there? Why did we change this Dhamma to a Kasra? Somewhere else in the Quran you will see Allah. Why did we do that? Okay? That's another complete science of the language, Arabic language, but it comes in the Quran. For example, this is the original word. Last letter is the Dhamma. Very, very important thing. Last letter is the one that plays the whole grammar. And the harakat on the last letter. Allahu. Okay. Now, I just want to give example because these things will come again and again to make you familiar why these sounds change. Why Allahu changes to Allaha or Allahi. Okay. Let's just, and I'll go later on in details, but let's just start with this word, Allahu. I'm just going to write down Allahu with the last letter, Dhamma. Okay, and I'm going to write down a word after that. Let's say Khaliqun. Khaliqun means creator. Khaliq, that means we use the word. And because it's a noun, always two letters. Khaliqun. So I will translate Allah is the creator. Okay? Is Allah doing something or someone is doing something to Allah here? Allah is doing the job here. Allah is doing something. He's creating. Okay? As long as Allah is doing something, I will keep this last letter Dhamma here. So what does it mean? Doer, fa'il, actor, the one who is actually doing something. Okay? Now, if you have heard the word, full word, Subhanallahi. We say Subhanallahi walhamdulillahi. We say all the time. What happened? Allah became kasra there. If you have the word Subhanallahi, okay, and here we say Subhanallahi. Okay, what happened here? Subhanallahi. Why Allahu became Allahi? Here we kept Allahu, but here we change Allahi. If you notice the construct of this sentence of these words, Subhana is to glorify someone. Okay, I am glorifying Allah. Means Allah is not doing anything. I'm doing. So if Allah is not doing anything, then He doesn't need this Dhamma there. So what happened here? Here it became object. Maf'ul. Here is fa'il, doer, subject. So in English, the concept of subject and object is brought in by just changing the last letters harakat. Very, very important concept. If you pronounce this wrong or you pronounce this wrong, meaning will change in the Quran. In this ayat, you have to pronounce Allahu. You cannot pronounce Allahi, otherwise meaning will change. Meaning will be someone created Allah. So these harakat, these tanween, they are very, very important to know. And while we are reading the Quran, proper concentration should be given. Because the difference between these two sentences, these two verses, this and this, in one case Allah is doing something, in the other case Allah is not doing anything. I'm doing something, or you're doing something, you're glorifying Allah. So the concept of word changing from subject to object is brought by just changing these things here. Okay, very important concepts.
Khaliqun is the creator.
The creator. No, here creator.
Creator.
If I say Al Khaliqu, then it will become the creator. Okay, Al, I will say Al constantly coming everywhere. Okay, notice here Al Rahman, Al Rahim, okay, Al Rajim, Al Shaitan. Okay, all these words we had to put Al in there to bring the proper concept of the word, proper meaning of the word. Okay, and also, and we will see many things even will come out, and I'll go through these two things today. Okay, but so just keep these things in mind. Okay, you will also see Allah. Okay, you read that all the time. Inna Allaha ala kulli shayin qadir. Inna Allaha. Okay, Inna means definite, indeed, without any doubt. Okay, so whenever you are saying something where you want to bring the utmost certainty, the noun after that becomes fatah. So Allahu becomes Allah.
When we say this word, normally we do not pronounce the last letter.
Okay, so that's what okay, I'll go explain that also. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so let's write down one more, and that is inna. Inna means surely, and when we combine with Allahu, this becomes fatah. Okay, this becomes inna Allah. So inna is a word, an Arabic word, and it means surely. Okay, now notice what happened. Few things. The word was Allahu. Okay, inna changed to fatah, but what happened to this alif? We are pronouncing inna Allah. We are not saying inna Allah. We are saying innal laha. So noon we are combining with this lam. Why? We took the easy and shortcut. We said this alif is a weak letter. Let's throw it away. Okay. But if you are teaching child, you have to make sure you teach him that it is inna and this is Allahu. Became Allah, but Allah, alif is a part of the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, but in Arabic, in Quranic, when we are combining the words for easy pronunciation, we take care of the weak letters. Okay, so this becomes inna Allah.
So it's not wrong to pronounce
No, it is not wrong.
Inna Allah.
No, it is not. But you have to pronounce Allah.
Allah.
Okay, because this inna has affected this. You will see the meaning changes if you don't do it. File become maf'ul, doer becomes the one whose work is being done upon. So it is important that you pronounce. You can pronounce Allahu Khaliqun, Subhana Allahi, but you cannot pronounce Allah here, or Allah here, or Allahi there. Okay, it's very important. Now, when we are speaking something, or we are reading the Quran, and we need to stop. Maybe we are going to lose our breath. Okay, we cannot continue. How do we stop? What's the rule of stopping? The rule of stopping is that wherever you want to stop your statement, okay, look at the last letter. And doesn't matter what is on the last letter. A fataha, dhamma, kasra, change that to a jazm. jazm here. This thing. Don't write it. For example, if I'm reading an ayat and last word is khaliqun, okay, and I want to stop here, then I will pronounce this khaliq. These two dhammas noon sound will go away, and a stop sound will come out with the sound of sukoon or jazm. So pronunciation will be khaliq. You don't need to write. Writing is not permitted. Only speech is permitted. You pronounce khaliq. Okay? If you are reading a long ayat and you lose your breath at this point, okay, what will you pronounce this letter? Allah. No dhamma will go away. Okay? If you're reading this one and you break, your sound goes away at this point, so you'll pronounce Subhan. But if you lose here, you will pronounce Subhanallah. Sound of sukoon. Okay? We do this all the time. The word is Allahu and the word is Akbaru. When we call adhan, what do we say? Allahu Akbar. Last word, where we are breaking our sound, we change that to a sukoon. No writing, only speech. You will still write khaliqun, but you will read khaliq. You come here, you will say Subhanallah, not Lahi. Here you will say Innallah. But if there are more words after that, then you are saying Innallaha ala kulli shayin qadir.
So there are more words after, and you stopped.
You have the permission to stop.
Do you start from there, or you can continue after?
Okay, so you have to see where the meaning becomes sensible. If you break two words in between, and then you pick up the second word, and it doesn't make any sense, the meaning, then you go one word behind, okay? And then continue from there. And that's what the Qaris does. If he loses his voice at some point, where the meaning becomes disruptive, then he goes back. And then comes, so if he stops here, Innallah, ha, then he will go back and read Inna again. And then Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Okay? So see but as I said again, whenever you stop, okay, you don't have to stop at the ayat. Okay, that ayat symbol in the Quran. If you are reading and you lose breath in between, you stop there. But stop the proper way. You cannot say Allahu and stop there. You say Allah and stop there. Okay? You cannot say Subhanallahi and stop there. You say Subhanallah. Okay? And then go back and pick up with the meaning the word. Okay? So these are very basic but very, very important concepts for understanding the Quran and reading the Quran correctly. Okay? And also remember that the Dhamma means the individual is doing something. And Kasra and Fatha means he is not doing something, you are doing something on him. Subject and object, fa'il and maf'ul, that concept keeps changing. Okay? So these are very basic things, but we will have to constantly use these things in our learning. Okay? So with that, I want to go to one more thing. After this, this thing is still going on.
Yes,
It's still going on, right? Okay. Okay, now I want to go over this first table, okay, that you have. Okay. And as I said that this is very important. If we can, and don't try to memorize, okay? Because Arabic grammar is very dry grammar, okay? Don't try to memorize, understand it. And if you understand it, it'll be easy for you, okay? So grammar, Arabic grammar is taught with the 3 letters, okay? And those 3 letters are Fa, Ain, and Lam. Okay, this is the letter Fa. Okay. Now also conceptually, Arabic language does not have the concept of the time that we understand in English or our own languages. We know that there are 3 time zones: a past tense, a present tense, and a future tense. Arabic has only 2. A past tense and present and future are combined. Okay? Not only that, Quran brings a new concept there also. Okay? Past tense that we called, as we understand, is the time where something has happened. Right? Like, it rained yesterday. Is there anyone who can deny that? No one can deny that it rained yesterday. So that time zone is a definite time zone. Must time zone. You cannot change at all. It's fixed now because it has gone. And you were the witness of that. So that time zone is almost same as past tense in Arabic. And that time zone is called Al-Madi. Madi means past. Okay? The past. Al means the. Madi means the past tense. Okay? Now, so whatever grammar we will develop for the Madi will be the grammar of past tense. I did. I went. Okay? Past. Okay? Then comes the concept of present tense and future tense. In Arabic, there is only one. Because present is so small that it hardly exists. And future may come, may not come. So that's indefinite. Unknown time zone. Okay? And the grammar is same for both of them. But how do we say that I'm writing now and I will write tomorrow? How do we distinguish? Same word, if I use the same word for both of them, you have to look at the context. That if I'm talking tomorrow, then I will translate, I will write. Okay? But if I'm doing right now, I will translate the same word, I'm writing. Okay? 2 things. Third thing is that the concept of hereafter, Yawmul Qiyamah. When you're reading the Quran, 1/3 of the Quran's concept is about the Day of Judgment, Yawmul Qiyamah. Whatever grammar we learn from the past tense, Quran uses that grammar for the Day of Judgment. Quran uses the same grammar for the Day of Judgment. For example, the word qala. Qala means he said. Okay. He said something in the past and something yesterday was spoken. When Quran is talking about the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will describe the Day of Judgment that all the people are standing and qala Allahu ta'ala. Allah said. It should be Allah will say. Right? But the same word is used. Why? Because forget the concept of past, present, and future. Think the concept of definite and indefinite. A day of judgment is definite. So the grammar of definite is used there. Tomorrow is indefinite, unknown. So it may or may not. But tomorrow may not come, but according to the Quran, day of judgment will definitely come. So something which will definitely will happen uses the same grammar which definitely has happened, like it rained yesterday. Okay? It's a very hard concept. Okay? But when you will understand the Arabic of the Quran and you will read about the description of the day of judgment, it will constantly use the past tense. Because past tense means definite. And day of judgment is definite. Tomorrow, Monday may not be a definite thing. But day of judgment, which will come much later, is a definite thing. Okay? So keep that concept in mind. Okay? So we'll take these three word letters, and when we make the grammar of this, the meaning of this will be to do. Okay? So what we do, the first thing, we combine these three letters, fa, ain, and lam. Just combine them together, like that. Okay? We cannot pronounce, we need the help of the harakat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a fatah here, and fatah here. And now I can pronounce fa, because sound of fatah is alif sound, short alif, fa, a, la. These three things, notice I did not add any letter here. These three things bring the meaning of third person he and past tense. Just these three harakat here brought the meaning of a third person, masculine, and the past tense. That is the simplest grammar of Arabic. Put three fathas, that's the grammar of past tense, third person. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is take these three letters and a vowel there. Okay? So, fa, a, and what was there? There was a fatha, right? I added a vowel there. Okay. The sound of vav, as I mentioned, is a weak letter. The sound of vav is the sound of dhamma. It's a weak letter. Okay. So if I'm trying to pronounce lam with a fatha with a vav that has the sound of dhamma, I'll have a hard time pronouncing that. So what I would do, I will play around with the sound of the vav and push it back. It becomes fa'alu. Okay? This vav brings the meaning of plural. So meaning will become they did. So vav is the plural. Okay? Now what in the writing, we put an alif with a little circle on it. It is just writing. It doesn't do any purpose. It's called alif of separation. It separates from the word which is after that. It's just a style. I heard that in the modern print, news media, print and Arabic language, they don't even write this alif there. But in the old style Arabic, in the Quran, this alif with a circle is written there, doesn't do anything. So this vav is the actual one, which is the bringing the meaning of they and the past tense.
So the things we're learning here are also modern, or they're using.
This is called, okay, this is called Fusha. This is called the classical Arabic. Now, amazingly, the people who speak Arabic on the streets, they don't speak this language. But their print media, their TV media uses the Fusha, the classical language. So if you're watching Al Jazeera, for example, you will hear like someone is reading the Quran to you, because they use those classical words there a lot. Print media also, but modern spoken language on the street is just like any slang or anything. Not everywhere, but in some places.
So saying things like you is like thou, like in Shakespeare.
Okay, well, that's a Shakespearean in English,
Yeah,
okay?
Just as a comparison.
People who translated the Quran in the early days were impressed by the Shakespearean English. And I think that was a pretty lousy job they did. Okay? Because they use the word thou, wilt, shalt, okay? Which modern day, if you give to a young man or young woman, she says, what kind of language is this? Okay. So, but those days, for example, the word Lord that is taken is a biblical word. Our old translators took that word for God. And then the Lord in Christianity, one day or 1 minute it may mean God, the other minute it may mean Jesus Christ. So those are so there's some, if you understand Quran in Arabic, you don't need to worry about all those things. Okay?
But this one now is a very classical, but at that time.
Oh, that was, yeah, that was the language, yes.
Right.
That was the language at that time, yes. That is Fusha, the top language, okay? So, Fa'alu.
So, fa'alu, is there a difference between masculine and feminine?
Yes, we are doing just the simplest grammar of masculine, okay? Then let's take the next word here, that if I take these three letters, Fa, Ain and Lam, and put a letter Ta. Okay. Fa, Al, Ta. Ta with a fatah. Okay. This Ta remember that I'm just adding at the end. Okay. This brings the meaning of you, single person, and the past tense. So just one letter bringing so much information there. Okay. Just one letter. Okay. Then I'm going to take the same formation and I'm going to add one more letter, Mim. Fa'al, and this is the sound of Tum. Ta and Mim, two letters. This brings the meaning of you, plural, did. All of you did. Fa'altum. These are very, very basic, one or two letters. That's all you need to make the grammar. Not like adding many, many words in other languages. Okay? It's one or two letters. Okay? Then one more thing I take. Fa'al. And this time I take the same ta, but add a dhamma there. Fa'altu. Okay? This is the grammar of I in the past tense. Okay? And the last one is that Fa'al and Na. Okay. Fa'alna, and that is we did. Okay. These are the only things, if you slowly build up, don't memorize, don't worry about. They will come so much in the Quran, these few things, that you will feel comfortable. Okay. When one fatha is there, the ta, it is you, one person you. When it is meme after that, it is all of you, and the past tense. And when there is a dhamma here, fa'altu, it is I, fa'alna we. For female, there is some minor difference, but we don't need to. We'll ask the Quran, they come in the Quran, we'll go over them. Okay? For female, this is same grammar. This one is same for female. We did includes both male and female. Fa'alna and fa'altu. These are different, but minor differences will come across them. But this is the basic. A lot of repetition we'll see of these things in the Quran. Notice that anything we added here, we added after the 3 letters, not before 3 letters. We added waw, ta, tum, tu, na after. Okay? This is all the past tense you need. Okay? Then, to make it very, very easy, very simple changes bring the present tense. Okay? So we'll just go, okay, one more thing, that's the first row of your handout I gave you. Now, the word ma, if I put before this, it brings the meaning of negative. Ma fa'ala, he did not do, past tense. Ma fa'alu, they all did not do in the past. Okay? Ma fa'alta, you did not do. Ma fa'altum, ma fa'altum, ma fa'alna, that's the last box. Says a ma in there, in the table. That is making this every word negative. Okay, so if you want to make it positive to negative, just add a ma there. Okay. Now I want to do briefly on the present tense, and then we will go into some more details. Okay. If you notice just go into the next row. Present and future are same. Present and future is same grammar, so it's much half of the learning of there. Okay. Present and future all called mudare. Past tense is called madi, and present and future together, the word is written there, al mudare. Okay. So how do we do? It's very easy. So we'll just go over there and then we will move on. And as I said, we will go back and forth as a reference there. Don't try to memorize. Okay. So you start with the same 3 letters. Fa'ala. Okay. But this time put a ya in the beginning. Yaf'alu. Okay. This brings the meaning of he does or he will do. That ya in the beginning brings the meaning of he, third person, and present and future together. So what is this letter? We learned ya. Okay. We added only one letter in the beginning. In the present and future, we are adding something in the beginning, not at the end. Okay. Now, if I put a ta in the beginning instead of a ya, okay, and it is taf'alu. Okay, this brings the meaning of you do or you will do. one person. So what we have here is a ta. Just added a ta. Okay. Then I'm going to add another letter, alif. Af'alu. And that's I do or I will do. Okay. So I added an alif here. Okay. Okay.
One of this word means command.
No, that's a different. Harakat are different in that one. We'll learn that later on. Now I want to add one more last letter here, noon. Naf'alu. Naf'alu means we do or we will do. Okay, that's all. So this is called noon. Okay. Four letters. Ya with the sound of fatah, ta with the sound of fatah, alif with the sound of fatah, and noon of the sound of fatah. The entire grammar is that. Okay. These four letters have a name. They are called yatan. Okay. What is yatan? Ya, ta, alif, noon. Yatan. Okay. If you know this, if you remember this word yatan, that's all you need for the entire grammar. Okay. Yatan. And notice that all of the letters come in the beginning. In the Madi, in the past, they came after Fa'ala. But in the present and future, they come before Fa'ala. Okay? All you have to remember that these four letters. Okay? Now, notice that here I just wrote the grammar of the one person, not the plural. Okay? Remember in the past when I put a waw and I said that is the symbol of being plural. So if you want to make the plural, this will become yaf'alu, right? This will become taf'alu, become plural. These are all already singular and plural. You don't have to do anything here. I do and we do is already case of singular and plural, right? So these two guys, a waw here and a waw here, will make a plural. But we do one more thing in the Arabic for the plurals. Okay? So by the rule, if I say yaf'alu, he does. But if I say yaf'alu, combining the sound of waw, it will become yaf'alu. It is the plural, they do or they will do. Similarly, taf'alu, because I'm putting a waw at the end. Okay? But, and we will discuss this later, we put a noon at the end. If you look in the book here, in the notes, it's a yaf'aluna actually. And taf'aluna for the plurals. Okay? That noon is a special purpose noon. It's not making the plural. And that noon, so the actual word is yaf'aluna and taf'aluna. If you look in the table, it says yaf'aluna and taf'aluna. So what that noon is doing? We add noon for a purpose. It doesn't bring the meaning. Meaning is wow is bringing a plural. You know, in any language, because this is a present tense and future tense, okay? I'm speaking about some situation. So I will say, I will do it tomorrow. Okay? Which means I'm saying, yes, I have commitment to do it tomorrow. But I may speak the same sentence in a slightly different way. I can say, I might do it tomorrow. What am I saying? I'm putting a possibility of not doing it there. So for the future, I used two different ways of commitment. I will do, I might do. Okay? For the past tense, you cannot do that because you have already done it. Okay? You have done already it. I did it yesterday. There is nothing else you can do about it. But something that you are going to do in the future, you can create different situation. Okay? To bring that concept of might do in Arabic, we take the help of this noun there. Okay, and we will learn as we go along. Okay, but that's what we do.
So when you're not sure what happened in the past, what it meant. So it's the same.
No. Why do you say you're not sure?
You heard it.
No. If it happened, it happened. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen.
I see.
Okay? You didn't hear, it's your problem. But if something happened, it cannot be denied.
He means, I think, if it's true or false, that's a different question.
That's a different question.
Exactly.
But either it did happen or either it did not happen.
Right. True or false?
Okay? You cannot say it may not have happened. No, past is not like that. Future is like that. Future may happen, may not happen. But past is definite. Either it happened or did not happen. Doesn't matter if you knew or found out or not. Okay? So that's the concept of the time zone in Arabic.
So for future, when you're saying you might not do, would you put instead of do?
No. Yeah, we will put a ma or la or other things, but we will take the help of this noon to bring the might, the may or might concept.
So you learn for either might happen or might not happen, either way.
In that case, no. It might happen or will happen. Okay? That help will come from this noon. Okay? But not, there is a word for that, is la. If you look in the box, the la. So if you put la yaf'alu, he does not do. In the past tense, to make a negative, we put ma. In the present and future, to make it negative, look at the last box. In the last box, there are two things. La, not ma. So present and future tense, to make it negative, it is la. And to make it a definite future, we put two other things seen on Sawfa. Kalla sawfa ta'lamuna, thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Sawfa means will definitely in the future. Okay? So seen and Sawfa, you will see in the Quran, Sayalamuna, Sawfa ta'lamuna, all those words, and la you will see. But that, as soon as you see, that means you're talking about present or future. If you see the ma, you are talking about past tense. Okay? Negative. Okay? So that is the... so we will go over these things. Actually, once we go through the repetition of these words, okay, it will become very easy for you, okay? And I want to take one more example today. Actually, I want to just mention one thing here. is there is a group of words in Arabic which are very important, and in English we call them prepositions. Okay, and actually for reference, if you go on the second page and if you look in the box number 5, the second page has few tables. So look at the table number 5. Okay, if you look at the little circle, says table number 5 here on top. Yeah, third page. Yeah,
No, behind.
you're behind on the back side.
Here's the back.
The back of this second page. Okay, there is a.
Printed.
It says number 5 on the top.
This is not printed.
Okay. So in the right hand column, you will see the word prepositions. Okay. You will see the word prepositions. In English, in, with, above, below, these are called prepositions, and few more are like that. Okay, what do they do actually? We use them all the time. Okay, when I say pen above the table, and I'm saying a word to you, this pen is on the table. What am I saying? I'm defining a position of the pen with respect to the table. In English, when I'm saying that, pen is on the table. Two things, a pen and a table, but there is a relationship that pen is above the table, not under the table. So that the word above is defining the preposition of that thing. Okay? So these are called preposition. In Arabic, these same things are called harf-e-jar. Preposition means harf-e-jar. In English, the word in is translated as a fee. Okay? In Arabic, fee in Arabic with is defined as a be. It's the meaning of these words. Above is ala, below is tahat. So these words in Arabic and English, they are called harf-e-jar and prepositions. And that table lists all of them. There are 14 or 15 of those.
With say ma.
The with has many meanings. Actually, we translated for the correct English. Okay, there may be multiple ways of translation. These words are very important. These are very important. They come so often that we will have to learn them. Repetition you will memorize those things. Okay. For example, let's say I'm going to write down one more. From. And this means min. Okay, in Arabic. Okay. We say min Allah, from Allah. Okay. Bismillah, with Allah. Okay. But you notice that when I said Bismillahi, Allahu became Allahi there. Harf-e-jar in Arabic, when they come before the noun, they change the last letter sound. So if the word is al-kitabu, the book, Al-Kitabu. The word was Kitabun. Okay? And when we put Al, so it became Al-Kitabu, the book. Okay? Now, if I put a harf-e-jar, fi, which means in, so I'm telling you something is in the book. Okay? In English, I put in there and the sentence became in the book. Okay? But when I put here, the meaning will remain English same, but something will happen there. Two things will happen. First of all, harf-e-jar is going to look at the word after that, which is a noun. Okay? And it will look at the last letter. Is this. Then it will look at the harkat of the last letter, which is dhamma. It's a, I don't like dhamma. I'm going to change this to kasra. Now comes the reciter, the qari. So he starts reciting and he says, I don't like this alif there. Okay? I'm not going to pronounce the alif because it's a weak letter. Why do I have to speak so much there? If I don't use this alif, I can quickly say the word fil kitabi. Instead of saying fi al kitabi, 3 words. Okay? He said alif is a weak letter. We just learned alif is a weak letter. I can drop it. I can leave it written there. I'm not going to pronounce it. So how am I going to pronounce? Fil kitabi. In the book. In the book. So remember that harf-e-jar changes the last. Everybody just goes after last letter and the harkat on the last letter. All the things we have been seeing, that always the victim is the last letter of the word and the harkat on that last letter. Kitabo became kitabi, kitabo became kitaba, last letter. Okay? Allahu became Allaha, last letter, harkat. So the whole definition goes around trying to have an effect on the last letter.
So is it always going to be kasra? Because of
For the harf-e-jar, harf-e-jar, always kasra. Okay? Always kasra. Okay? And we'll see some examples quickly, and then we'll inshallah stop after that. So remember that the word is now fil kitabi. And if you want to stop, how would you pronounce? Fil kitab. Okay? Always last letter. Always the sound of the last letter is affected. Anything, the writer, the reciter, everybody goes after the last letter. And the sound on the last letter. Okay? So fil kitab, he will, the reader or the grammarian change this last letter to the kasra. Then comes the reciter, he says, I'm not even going to recite this last letter. Harkat on that. So he'll recite fil kitab. He will say Allahu Akbar, not Akbaru. Okay? Okay, so this is the harf-e-jar. Very important, okay? Now I want to just use these things which we learned today in one of the ayat of the Quran. This is the ayat of the Quran. It came only once in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What is written on the top is not the part of the Quran. In the beginning of the surah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, except that there's a disagreement that in Surah Al-Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is the part of Surah Al-Fatiha or not part of it. But that's a disagreement. Inside the surahs, only one place the word Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim come inside the Quran. Okay? And that is Sulaiman alayhi salam wrote a letter to Queen of Sheba, and the letter started with the word Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So only one place. The word A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim is not in the Quran either. But there is a command in the Quran. The command says that when you recite the Quran, say, I seek refuge with Allah. So in a response to that, we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Okay? So this is part of the recitation. Before the recitation, we are supposed to say, or before anything else. Okay? So I'm going to just do a quick understanding of these words, and you will notice that we have been reading these for a long time. But how now what we have learned we can apply there. Okay? So just we'll do that, and then we'll continue inshallah. Okay, so let's look at these three. First of all, look at this word we just learned. Fa'ala. Okay? Fa'ala means to do. Okay? Now remember I put an alif in the beginning and pronounced as af'alu. We just learned that, and that brought the meaning of I and present tense or future tense, I do. So alif in the beginning of the three letters brings the meaning of first person I and the present tense, right? Okay. Now I'm going to take these three letters, Ain, Vav and Zal. Three letters here. Okay. What is the meaning of these three letters? You'll have to learn through the dictionary. Okay, but the meaning of this is to seek protection. The meaning of these three letters, when they are written in this order, Ain, Vav and Dal, the meaning of these three letters is to seek refuge or seek protection or ask for protection. Okay? Now I want to apply this grammar here. Okay? So I'm going to put an alif in the beginning. Alif in the beginning. Then these three letters I'm going to write down together like this. Okay? And exactly first letter Fa has a sukoon or jazam. Okay. Second letter Ain, which is Vav, has a fatha. And third letter is Dhamma. I just copied the template. All the harakats are exactly the same. Okay? So by writing this way, what did I gain? I brought the meaning of I seek protection. I seek protection, right? But try to pronounce this. Can anybody pronounce this thing? Huh? Not very funny, okay? Not very good sound, right? A'awazu. It doesn't rhythm to the ears, right? Okay. So now we have to see, Qari says, how can I make it a smooth sound? Okay. Why he says there is a weak letter here in the air. Okay. He says I can take the help of this weak letter, wow. Okay. So he said, well, if I change these two harakat, these two back in, take this sukoon and bring it here, and take the sound of wow up there. Okay, so alif, he's not doing anything to this. He's not doing anything to this. On these two, all he's doing is that this sukoon he's bringing on wow, and this sound of wow is dhamma, he's bringing it back. He's adjusting these things. Now pronounce it, how easy it is pronounced. And it sounds good. A'udhu. Very easy, a'udhu. Instead of a'awadhu. Okay? A'udhu. So that is the word here in a'udhu.
When these changes start showing up, because
In every long before Quran was revealed. This is all language, Arabic language. Nothing to do with the Quran. Quran didn't come changing the language. Okay? Everything was happening already. Okay?
Because my understanding of this haraka, all of this comes in.
No, harakat were put afterwards, but the word was being spoken the same way. A'udhu was being spoken without writing the harakat on it. But when the grammarians sat down and they said, well, the rule is this, if you apply the rule, it comes this way. Doesn't fit. So what the low people who were speaking in the community, what they may have done, they said, well, let's make it easy on the tongue. So becomes A'udhu. I seek protection. Now comes the second one. What was this word to begin with? Allahu was the word. Allahu was the word. Okay. And what happened? We put a B in the beginning. And we just learned that B is a harf-e-jar. And it means with or in. With. Okay? But what does harf-e-jar do? Harf-e-jar looks at the next word, which is a noun, then goes and looks at the last letter, which is ha, then looks at the harkat on the last letter, it says dhamma. It says, I don't like it. Okay? I'm going to change this to kasra. That is the quality of harf-e-jar. Whenever a harf-e-jar or preposition will come, it will attack the next word. Okay? And now comes the reciter again. He said it's hard to pronounce two words. Bi Allahi. He said, I'm not pronouncing this alif here. Billahi. It's easy to pronounce.
But again, pronouncing is not wrong.
No, it is not wrong.
Be Allah.
Bi Allahi. If you want to take time, you want to speak long sentence instead of short way of communicating, you can say Bi Allahi.
So the same rule applies if it's multiple noun.
All nouns. No, the first noun. The very first noun.
Only the first noun.
Right. But sometimes the formation of the sentence is such that this be will continue at many nouns after that, even if there is a break in between. But that's all depends on the sentence formation.
Give an example.
Hmm?
Give an example of multiple noun.
Well, for example, if you have a word letter waw in between, waw means and. Okay? When this letter comes in between, that means whatever is being applied to the first applied to the second. So you can say billahi wa rasuli. Okay? But the meaning will be of this be will be applying there. Okay? But you have to really look at the sentence formation, and especially if this waw is in between.
Actually, isn't it there too? Like shaitani rajim.
Okay, so no, that's a good catch, but there is a slightly different rule of grammar there.
The same happened that Bismillah,
Yeah,
the name and
Yes, but there is one rule before that. Not exactly, okay, and I'll come to that, okay? But these are good things because now you're trying to understand the Quran in the language, in the Arabic language, okay? And you're catching these things, okay? We'll get to that. Now, so let's look at the next one, okay? Next word, min, is again a harf-e-jar, okay? We just look at the list. And this word means from, okay? And what's the word after that? Let's look at that. Okay. So the root letters are sheen, ta, and noon. Sheen, ta, and noon. Okay. See, the grammar is dry, but as soon as you start applying to the Quranic verses, your interest builds up, you know. So shatana means to rebel. These 3 letters means to rebel, go against. Okay? And the doer of that activity is called shaitan. Okay? So, shaitan. But remember, I told you that the noun will always have 2 dhammas at the end. So the word is shaitanun. Word is shaitanun. Okay? And you can write down Satan, right? Or the one who rebels. Okay? Now put the al before that. Okay? Thus. Okay? Now what is al going to do? Al, everything, every word looks at the next word. He's going to look at the next word, going to look at the last letter, he's going to look at the 2 dhammas. See, I don't like that. I'm going to change this to 1. Kitabun became al-kitabu. So shaitanun became shaitanu because of al. Okay? So that is 1. Now came the reader. Okay? There is a rule, half of the alphabetical letters are called Shamsi, half are called Qamari. And you know all of them. Okay? The word is, what's the name of the last surah? Surah An-Nas. So it is actually Al-Nas. Al-Nas. Noon kills the sound of lam. An-Nas. But Al-Falaq did not do that. Al-Falaq, the sound of lam is still there. Okay? Al-Qamar, Al-Lahab. You just name all the surahs and you will know that roughly half of the letters kill the sound of this lam, this lam. Okay? Sheen does the same thing. But when it kills, it makes its own sound double. So it becomes ash-shaitan. Not al anymore. Ash. So lam is written, but its sound is not pronounced. So pronunciation now started with shaitanun, then it became al-shaitanu, then it became ash-shaitanu, and then you put min, from. Okay, as soon as min comes, it again goes and looks at the next word, looks at the last letter, and said, I'm a harf jar, I'm going to change this to kasra. So now it became min ash shaitani. Okay? Now, more. This is a weak letter alif. The reader say, what do I have to recite that? Drop it. So he says, minash shaitani. So he changes this to a fatha. Minash. It's a min actually. The word is min.
Is it regardless? The min has more than 1 meaning.
Yeah, but here from is the best fitting.
Okay. So
Min Allah, min shaitan.
So it doesn't matter what does it mean.
You have to
it's
use the
same.
right, like if you are seeking refuge with someone against someone, that's how the sentence will go, right? So you are seeking refuge with Allah against the shaitan. So you can translate against or from, okay? So you have to use the preposition in the right context, okay? So I seek refuge with Allah from the shaitan. From the shaitan. The big one. There's a da there. Okay? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he disobeyed, did not follow the command when he was commanded to make sajda to Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a curse upon him. Okay? And that was Rajama. These 3 letters means to curse someone. Okay? And the word will be Rajimun. Always last letter has 2 dhammas. Rajimun is the one who has been cursed or who received the curse.
So similar to the actual word for shaitan, origins from shat.
Shatana. Shatana.
So where is the ya coming from?
Oh, nouns are made in different ways. There is no one rule. Kitabun, as 3rd place we put an alif there, right? Okay. In qalamun we didn't put anything.
Right.
So nouns have
Is there any?
no. There is no rule. There are many ways of making however the people in the language they build the noun. Same thing in English. Okay. So Rajimun is the one who has been cursed, who has received the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the sifat of shaitan. This is the quality of the shaitan. Okay. So name and quality. Quality means sifat. They follow the rule. How? If Hamid is making sajda, so you will say Hamid is sajid, is making sajda. But if the name is female, Hamida, what will be her sifat when she's making sajda? Sajida, not sajid. So in Arabic, the noun and sifat follow the rule. Male to male, singular to singular, plural to plural, harf-e-jar to harf-e-jar. So Rajimun will become ar-Rajimo, and because it is coming as a sifat, sifat means quality, adjective of shaitan. So because of being adjective, it has to follow the same grammatical rule. So if it was shaitano, this will be rajimo. If it was shaitana, it will be rajima. Okay, but it is shaitani, so it will be rajimi. So this min did not do that. Min only changed shaitano to shaitani, but shaitani changed rajimo to rajimi. So we will continue because I think it's a little bit too much. Okay, let me stop this thing first.